Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is your boy Lee. We here with the Broadcast Bros. Oh wait, did that copyright come back? Jake, are we able to use that?
Still pending the copyright, sir. Check in next week.
All right, well, we're just gonna keep rolling with it. Hey, we got myself, Lee. We got my man Jake. Jake, say hi to the people.
Hi, everyone.
We got my man Justin.
And hey, that's me.
He'll be joining us today, and hopefully be one of our hosts in the future.
He was supposed to be here
Thanks for
for
the
the
Um,
invite,
He's
everybody.
supposed to be here for the first episode, but we forgot to tell him about it. So
Oh, no problem. I'm a busy
no,
lad,
it's
as
it's
they
not
say.
it's not your fault. It's
yeah,
our fault.
he was too busy buying houses with his entrepreneurial endeavors.
He's a true entertain.
Updates to
Um,
come.
absolutely. But and then of course we have our sore loser for the day, Joe, who is going to be leaving this episode with tears in his eyes as we dismantle his favorite series, Star Wars. Joe,
In
please.
the words of
Talk some
LeVar
shit.
Ball, never lost.
But all right. So today we're gonna be talking about the obviously the franchise Star Wars. Are we just doing everything, guys? Are we
Yeah,
focusing on
we're
one
gonna.
thing? Or are
I
we
think
just like?
we're gonna
Star
do
Wars, is
all.
it
We're gonna do all
overrated?
canonical
Yeah, exactly.
lore. Is Star Wars overrated?
So
So it's so
I'm gonna be focusing on movies just because I don't read the books or anything. So if
And,
you start bringing up stuff from the books, I'm gonna tap out.
well, what
all
about
right, good
the
to know.
shows? Kind of like
Yeah, and the
Clone
Yeah,
shows.
Wars.
Come
yeah,
on
Yeah,
now.
anything. So I think
yeah.
anything that's canon's fair game. I think that Joe being the lore master of Star Wars in general gives us a good perspective. So anything's fair game, Joe, as long as it's canon.
All right,
So
sounds
the
good to me.
question, is it overrated? And I would like to ask a secondary question: Is it dead? If so, when did it die? So yeah, well, I think we'll just go through and everyone will speak their piece, and we'll see what the sides are. So let's start it out with Joe, since he's the most knowledgeable person here.
You
We'll
want
give him the
wow?
good
You want me
start.
to go first, huh?
The
Okay.
Absolutely.
defender of the precious series.
All right. Here is what I think: is Star Wars overrated? No, I think it has become underappreciated due to the expectations that surround a Star Wars product or project, I should
Thanks
say.
for the tips, Justin. You're up next. I'm just kidding.
Anyways, before I was rudely interrupted. No, but I think Star Wars is not overrated. I think it's maybe in not the best spot right now with its movies and maybe it's planned for its movies. But I don't think the universe of Star Wars is overrated by any means. If you go and watch, the original trilogy, I think a lot of people are now warming up to the prequel trilogy, and you go watch the TV shows, whether they're animated or live action, they're all well received. They're all critically well received, as well as the fans love it. I think people take the small chunk, which is the new Disney trilogy, and they try to use that as poison to say the whole thing is poor. I think people are taking this really hard because for a lot of us, Star Wars is our childhood. It's how we were raised. It's what we were super into. And when it doesn't turn out the way we hoped it would be, we definitely get butthurt, for lack of a better word. So I think we have a lot of people who grew up with Star Wars who are just butthurt about it not turning out the way they'd hoped it would be. So I think that says more about the fan base than it does the actual product. And I think with Dave Filoni in charge of the expanding the universe and the TV shows and animated and live action, I think Star Wars is in an even better space than it was before Disney took over.
Okay, so we'll just go. Everyone, just give their quick 60-second. What do you think? And then we'll go back through into the nitty gritty, just so it kind of like evens out. You know what I mean? Just so everyone can kind of vibe off the responses. Joe, is there anything else you want to say about your general opinion? So Joe's saying it's alive and well. He said nothing but good vibes, right?
I'm saying there's some bad spots, but it doesn't mean the whole thing itself is spoiled. That's my
Okay,
opinion.
Justin, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say too, because
Justin,
I
a
feel like
new
you're
guest.
the black horse.
First opinion of the
Hey,
show.
I thank you guys. Thank you. I kind of want to. I would say. I would say overall Star Wars not being overrated. Um,
Yeah.
and not dead. And not dead. Which I think are two takes together that I think you'd only find in a super fan like Joe. Um, but I mean, you've got a saga, a series, a universe that has started in 1977. And when Joe kind of started saying stuff about the expansion and how you've got to build onto it, it's and the expectations, it's tough to take something that you have these beloved characters that were around in, like I said, 77 to 83, whereas that was that original trilogy, and you develop such a connection to Luke and Leia, and how can they come back in the Disney trilogy, and what could they do to bring them to just continue the good story, which in some cases we find success and some failure, but that, like I said, not a super fan myself, but that would be my quick 60-second intro.
Okay, so just to surmise, are we saying that you're kind of on the fence? Is that's kind of what you said?
No,
Sure.
no,
Yeah.
that's not what he said.
No. See, there you got Joe coming in. I would say I'm on the fence of saying it is not overrated and not dead.
Great. So you can be the swing vote. In other words, yeah.
Yep.
I'd be interested to see if anyone can change your opinions in that time.
Yes, me too.
Jake, let's see what you got. The boy genius.
Star Wars is dead.
Oh, brother,
Okay.
this guy
The day it died
stinks!
is October 30th, 2012. The day that
Shit.
LucasArts sold the rights to Disney.
Ooh.
The Disney trilogy, I think, undermined literally everything that Star Wars stood for, and tried to send messages that uprooted kind of the entire what Star Wars is essentially all about. So to make money, it was simply a factor of greed. Disney killed Star Wars.
So the
Interesting.
external forces have killed it, not anything to do with, or as you say, like internal or story quite yet.
So Disney, through their film, killed Star Wars.
Okay.
I'll talk about later
Interesting.
when we talk about overall story, about how Disney just made it just absolutely make no sense and undermined like everything. But Joe, I think I could appreciate the point that the original trilogy stood for, and I think that made it really hard to get into the series or be excited about it. So killed Star Wars.
Interesting, because I have a similar but yet different answer in that I think it's dead. Well, at least it's like terminally ill. But I think the day it died, I just had to Google it, was December 20th, 2019, when The Rise of Skywalker came out. Because that for me, I remember I left that movie theater being like, I want my money back. So I don't think Disney, when I heard it was announced for Disney to take it over, I don't think that was a bad thing, but I don't think they're doing a good job. So I guess we'll go back through, and Joe, tell me some pros and cons, and just why you think, I guess, the Disney takeover is either good or bad, and just what you think is a good thing. Like what
Before we
what
go
has
ahead,
come out that has made you happy about it? But yeah, what's up, Justin?
before we go ahead, can we just so I'm familiar, develop the quick timeline of Disney Star Wars movies, like from that accusation and on?
Oh, do I?
Yeah. So the first Disney Star Wars movie that was released was The Force Awakens, and then it goes through that the Rey and whatever their names are, Kylo Ren trilogy.
He doesn't even know the names.
Also,
Hey, ladies and gentlemen,
that
he doesn't even
also-
know the names.
that
Doesn't even
also
know the names.
that includes Rogue One and Solo: A Star Wars Story, and so like
Trash.
any movie that was
Trash.
made post 2015,
12.
trying to think of the exact date, 2014, 15-ish is Disney and show. Anything Star Wars related after that. Is
Anything
Disney.
after Revenge of the Sith. Anything after Revenge of the Sith is Disney.
Well, I would
Okay.
I would exclude maybe the first couple seasons of the Clone Wars.
Yes, the first
I haven't
6 or
seen that.
7
We can't
seasons
talk
of the
about
Clone
that.
Wars are Lucasfilm.
I haven't
So
seen that. We can't talk about
anything
that.
that once belonged to Lucasfilm IP that Disney did not create once they took creative control, I'm considering LucasArts Star Wars differing from Disney Star Wars for the sake of some. of my
Okay,
arguments.
so okay, got you. So I looks like we got episode 7, then Rogue One, then episode 8, then Solo, then episode 9. That sound right?
Sounds right to me.
Cool.
I mean, you're the expert, man. Let me Google this.
Oh, yeah, that
So
was
there
from
was
that was from a
reason
Google
for-
search myself.
All right, so just
But
real
cool.
quick, we have
With that
episodes
timeline
4 through
established,
6. We have 4 through 6, the prequels, Force Awakens. Then you're right, Rogue One, Episode 7, Solo, and then and then Rise of Skywalker. Trash.
nice.
Um,
Okay.
Trash.
Trash.
All right, Joe. What did you like since Disney took over? What did you like about it? Because I think that's
All
what
right.
you're arguing now is saying like the Disney takeover. Is it good?
No. So if you ask me, was the Disney takeover successful? Yeah, it would be hard for me to say yes or no completely because I think the
Well,
way in which
you gotta pick one.
I have to say if it was successful or not successful.
I would say it
Well,
was.
but no, it's very different. Their television production has been absolutely fantastic. The people directing and creating the shows, like Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau, they get Star Wars. They know what they're doing. They get the feeling you should get after you watch an episode. But if we go to the movies, I think Rogue One was one of the only movies I enjoyed. Probably the only movie I enjoyed since Disney took over.
Mm.
I got a
it
hot
does
take.
it does sting definitely because those three movies were, they're supposed to be the twilight of Star Wars, the Skywalker saga. It's supposed to be the ending of that universe with that family is the main, focal point in the universe. So it does hurt, but when you look to like the Mandalorian and the final season of the Clone Wars and all these new shows being put out, it has a better vibe. It has the better essence of what Star Wars should be than I'll say the prequels even did. I think these new stuff that they're pumping out is fantastic, and I think that's kind of evidence that it's not dead. That if they have people who are involved that so get the product and they continue to make lively and entertaining series that everyone enjoys, I think that's showing that it's still not dead if they can continue to produce all this good stuff. But I will concede a little bit that the movies definitely let me down.
Which one, since the ones that have come out since Force Awakens, which one is your favorite?
Oh, the three movies, which was my favorite?
No, including Rogue One and Solo.
He said Rogue One.
Oh, Rogue One, easily. Rogue One is easily my favorite.
Where does Solo fall
agree with that as well.
in the 5 movies there? The trilogy, Rogue One and Solo. Where does Solo fall?
Which one I like?
Yeah, in like the Disney 5, if you will.
Oh, brother.
I
didn't hate it as much as everyone wanted me to hate it. Like a bunch of our friends and people we know were like, "Oh, it's the worst movie I've ever seen." No, was it fantastic? No, but I would put it as second to last, above The Last Jedi, which might be controversial. But I did not like The Last Jedi. I really didn't.
I have a hot take on The Last Jedi because I personally didn't hate it, but I hated what it did with the universe. But I like the fact that they were trying new things. But I think they changed a lot of the rules, and that's where they lost me. Remember Leia got shot into space and then she like came back.
Mary Poppins.
Mary Poppins away.
Yeah.
Talk
There
about
was a lot of
memes.
things, in The Last Jedi where it just made no sense. But I appreciated the fact that they were taking risks. It didn't feel like a safe movie, which I felt like was interesting. Because The Force Awakens was like very like just fan service.
And I would argue.
Yeah,
that
I mean,
I would
kinda
argue
like
that
when
the
you
last
got-
movie would. Go ahead, Justin.
I just kind of remembered a point I made earlier. The expansion side of it. It was just an interesting call on what they did with Leia. It was kind of like unfortunately the first passing of a star, a lead character that they were still using in the movies. So, but yeah, that was just that point. It wasn't anything serious.
What's up, Jake? What do you think of The Last Jedi?
So I think The Last Jedi, as a film, pretty bad. Doesn't make a lot of sense. A lot of plot holes. Shot beautifully. I think the cinematography is really good.
Sure.
I mean, but I could say that about any of the Disney trilogies just because they have such a high budget, and the cinematography is always really good in Star Wars movies. I mean, some CGI here and there with the old trilogy is a little bad, but Last Jedi, I agree with your point. They tried to do something new things. It didn't work out. It got a lot of hate from it, but it wasn't safe. It wasn't boring, right? Force Awakens was kind of boring because it was just an over budgeted, A New Hope. The last one was boring because there were so many things that were just so confusing. Rey using Force lightning, for example, doesn't really do much for the universe because you're like, what the fuck? Or the main villain of the entire original trilogy coming back to life for the end makes no sense.
In the scroll, remember they just said it in the scroll. By the way, Palpatine's back.
Yeah, Palpatine's back. The dead speak. Oh, it's to me there were a lot of things that were lazy about it because I feel like it was just trying to save face. And I'll talk a little bit more about how the real thing that killed Disney Star Wars was nostalgia, but that's a big part of it. So
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm gonna say too. So we might as well just tell Joe. That's my biggest argument: is they can't make anything original based that's not milking off previous characters or stuff from the original trilogy, and that's the thing that I think is gonna be their downfall.
I mean,
Rogue One was probably the best attempt at them making like an original story. But you look at all the TV shows and then the Mandalorian. But since then,
Wait,
like
I was
Boba
gonna say,
Fett,
you can't call these shows unoriginal.
dude, Boba Fett is just they're just taking characters. Boba Fett, Obi-Wan. What's the new one they're making?
Which one are you referring to?
The Last Squadron or whatever.
and they're making
Rogue Squadron.
Yeah.
what's the alien lady with the dual lightsabers?
Ahsoka.
Isn't she getting a film or a TV show coming up pretty soon?
She's getting a TV show,
Yeah.
but she's also relatively new. Like, this isn't like they're like, oh no, this character from 1977, break her out.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they're only making that show because it's fan demand for the Clone Wars, which is again a kind of a hint to nostalgia. So,
Isn't that a good thing though? Like,
I mean, if
that
it's
show just ended
if it's
2 years ago.
if it's a popular character and people like it, like, but as long as it's done tastefully, like the Disney trilogy shoved it down your throat so hard that it was very noticeable that they were trying to use it as a cash grab. And that's why I said earlier that Disney, if itself, made so much money off of this that you can't say it wasn't a success, but it kind of killed their ability to make content in like a more cinematic sense. I mean, their TV shows are good, right? I mean, I haven't watched many of them, but I've seen the good reviews. It's like unanimous that canonically Star Wars is done.
Unanimous how? With who?
Okay, all right.
Because out
So
of the last 5 movies that have come out, I think we all agree maybe one of them has been good.
where do you expand off?
I would say
if
the
you
exact
were
same
gonna go
thing.
on?
I would say the exact same thing that
Ooh.
this is a hard take. I would say the exact same thing is starting to happen with Marvel right now.
Yep. I
Yeah,
agree.
like they do the same thing with the superheroes, trilogy after trilogy.
Guess
I
who?
think it's
Guess who
interesting where
owns
they-
Marvel?
Disney.
All right, but I'm
Um,
gonna call out these 3 right here because for the audience that doesn't know, they're very big John Wick fans, and John Wick number 4 is coming out, and they have no complaints about the recycled same movie that's been made 4 times now. And when that comes out, they'll
that's
be
another
slobbering
episode.
over it.
This
another-
you know what? All right, so you know what good about John
Apples to
Wick?
oranges.
You know what
Apples
good?
to oranges.
It is apples to oranges. Because what's good about John Wick is they make it specifically for the fights, the action, which is all. We don't go there to expect to be blown away for the story. We just want to see John Wick absolutely murder people in such creative ways. And there's no trilogy on the planet that's even got close. Maybe The Raid, if you guys have seen that, to that level of just like it's just violence, which is all it needs to be, and it does it incredibly well. I wouldn't say that they're like good movies story wise. I think they have a really good expanded universe that they're slowly making, right? But we watch it for the action. We don't watch it for the story.
But see, you're picky with Star Wars, saying the cinematography, the effects, the action's good, but then the story's not good. But then John Wick,
I did not say the action was good.
I
I do
whatever.
not think the action is good.
Ouch.
You have to look about with the story, but Star Wars is like it's story driven. John Wick is not story driven. It is all action. That's the whole point. The reason why
I
they
don't
made
know.
it.
I disagree. If a movie's made, and it should be judged on how other movies are made. I don't think John Wick can be like,
pulling up the
it's
Rotten Tomatoes?
What?
Pulling up the Rotten Tomatoes of John Wick.
You're gonna get a bunch of you guys like, I come there for the adrenaline of seeing a fight. It's sick.
I mean, yeah,
Okay,
you
then
don't
what
watch
would
a
you-
Fast and
what would you
Furious
s-
movie and expect them to go around a track. I mean, they go across something that a map you don't
Thank you.
even
Those
understand.
those
Like the
movies
actions.
those
action.
movies exist because of how ridiculous they are. That's John Wick. It
Yep.
is literally like one man, literally betrayed by the country he loves, freaking just
No,
murdering
don't you dare!
a bunch
use
of
that quote.
people.
No, yeah. Whereas you watch Star Wars, it's literally a story about politics, not necessarily action.
But you're saying John Wick is an outlandish story of just crazy violence.
Yeah.
Star Wars is a movie about aliens in space with laser swords.
But it's not.
But
it's
the
not
violence isn't
but
good.
the action is a backseat role to the narrative, right? The narrative drives the action in Star Wars. The action drives the narrative in John Wick. So you have to look at it with how the story is progressing. That's why we think John Wick is great, because the action.
Wait,
is
so
good.
no. So if you go to the director of all the John Wicks, I don't know if they're the same or not, for each movie, do you think they're going to tell you it's a story about violence or if it's a story about characters and their journey through space and the people that affect them in that space?
Violence.
It's violence.
No, I don't. If you go to the person who made the movies, they're going to say it's a story. It's not a fight that you're trying to
Okay,
watch.
we're not talking about Star Wars anymore right now. Just
You
get
guys,
me back
no,
on
wait,
track.
let me just finish this point. You guys appreciate it for the fighting, and you guys like it for the fighting, but that doesn't mean it was made for the fighting. The people who made it for the story, and they try to enhance it with fighting. And I think you guys lose that along the way because you enjoy the violence so much. I do too. I enjoy the violence. But I'm not going to sit there and be like, because I enjoy the violence, I allow the other failures of the movie to just kind of slip by.
So so I have yet to speak up about the fact that I haven't really seen the John Wick movies, and I can spin this real quick onto Human Centipede. I don't watch the
No.
Human Centipede for the story. I watched it for the centipede. Action.
What?
All right, so let's take Justin's point and Joe's point. We combine it, right? Right.
Combine
It's gonna make sense, I promise. So
Wait,
when you
Star Wars and
watch
Human
when you
Centipede?
watch Human Centipede, I'm just kidding. I've never actually seen it, but like about it because because it's clear what the director was going for in that movie, right? It was like shock value, and it just wants to be remembered as like the Human Centipede itself as a thing. Like, so Star Wars, right, is what is it? Soap opera. It's basically a soap opera in space. That's how George Lucas defines it, right?
Exactly. Yes.
It's a soap opera in space.
Yep.
So
A space opera.
space opera, yes, thank you. Right.
Thank
So
you, George.
you can already say right there that Star Wars in the narrative, right, is about politics. It's about rise and fall of character and things like that. It has all these redemption arcs and all this, violence, but mostly it's just like it's political pieces moving back and forth, right? I appreciate what the original trilogy does now that I'm older and I can understand the politics that went into it. But that's only because I had seen the other ones previously. And if you look at all six in general, right, the story is really about the rise of Palpatine and the fall of Anakin, right? And then, so that's the scope that I look at it in, because I look at the main plot. With John Wick, I literally just like, a dude killed this dog, he wants revenge, and that's just, and then he just keeps getting put in situations where he just needs to keep killing people. That's all the story is.
No.
Okay.
All right. Now
Hold
you're
on, hold on,
you're
hold on,
insulting
hold on.
the movie.
Getting back to it, Joe. The last 5 box office Star Wars movies, only one of them is considered to be a success. How does that make you feel?
How does it make me feel that only one
I'm
is
just saying,
which one's considered
the-
a success?
The New Hope. No, fuck, not New Hope.
Force Awakens.
Force Awakens. Thank
It's
you.
pretty close.
Yeah, Force Awakens. That's the only one that can be considered not only a decent movie, but a box office success. And you're still saying, and that was the first one that came out back in 2012, and you still think that
boy.
these are solid movies.
2015, but okay.
2015.
What was the question though?
So you still think that it's on the rise?
Yes, absolutely.
When ever since then it's been going down. You would argue that was the only success, and since then it's just gotten worse.
Have you seen how successful the TV shows are? Disney Plus launched with The Mandalorian. It didn't launch with any other show. The Mandalorian launched Disney Plus. That's what got the sales off the bottom. Star Wars, well, now Marvel too, but for a while, Star Wars was the sole reason Disney Plus stayed afloat, in my opinion. And now it has all of these other shows being multiplied, and they're quality. It's not just quantity here. They're really good shows, and they're being made and they're being expanded by people who care about them. So if this is the new medium, it has to be television and shorts and maybe miniseries and stuff like that. And so be it. I'd love to see a Star Wars movie in theaters again, but if we're talking about how they're currently making their media, then they're being very successful in what they're doing.
So you think it's Disney shows? You think we should give up on the movies?
I think they should for sure.
I'm saying if they feel the need to take a break and regroup and find a good story to tell to make a movie, then heck yeah, don't rush into something and make a terrible movie just to throw Star Wars on the front of it. But if you have a good story, if you have a really good story that you think the people want to know and you should tell that story, I mean, then go for it, do it. But let's not rush into something and throw a fake villain, then kill him and bring back the Emperor again, because we don't need that.
We're just looking at the Rotten Tomatoes for some of these the Disney trilogy. First of all, the box office sales for Force Awakens is over 2 million, which is crazy.
What is it? It's the fourth highest grossing movie of all time.
Yeah, I don't know what the ranking is, but I think the highest one's Avatar. I think the next one's
Endgame.
Infinity War.
No, I think it's
No,
actually
Endgame.
Spider-Man
you're right,
No Way
you're right.
Home.
No shot. It got that high.
It got really high. Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's. Let me look it up. Either that or it beat one of them for either all time or for like openings or like 2-week sales or something crazy. Oh wait, no, Spider-Man No Way Home is 6.
Dang, that's still high though.
Yeah, it is
Holy
number
crap.
4. 1's Avatar, 2 Avengers Endgame, 3 Titanic, 4 Force Awakens, 5 Avengers Infinity War, 6 No Way Home.
What a movie, Infinity War. Absolutely beautiful.
Okay, another time.
Oh, Xavier, one thing that you'll love, Top Gun Maverick, 11.
Who's
Domestically, The Force Awakens is number 1. Just want to throw that out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense because Avatar keeps getting released in the East.
Yeah.
Yeah, Avatar is it's predominantly international, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Still number 4 domestically, but yeah, it is.
For sure. Yeah, because I think they re-released it a couple. I think Endgame was number 1, and then Avatar re-released, and then it made more money.
It did. But Endgame re-released as well, though. To be fair to Avatar.
Oh, did it? I didn't even
It
know.
did once. It did. Yeah,
it
once
did.
right after it was like taken away, just so they could beat Avatar.
And then Avatar's
Yeah.
like, you thought, huh? But okay, going back. I don't trust Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb, but I think that you can use them as like a relatively good metric. I shouldn't say I don't trust them. I don't trust them when their scores don't really match or there's not a lot of consistency. So for The Last Jedi, IMDb 6.9, nice.
Perfect.
Rotten Tomatoes 91%.
Wow.
That's crazy. But I think that
Wow.
regardless of how you feel about the movie, definitely the most controversial movie to come out of the entire, or probably the most controversial Star Wars thing to release in its existence, in terms of like split fan base, not necessarily content.
I don't know. Did you ever see those Ewok adventure movies?
Dude, I think I would rather watch the holiday Christmas special from like 1980 instead of The Last Jedi one more time. And then so Star Wars Episode 9: Rise of Skywalker, IMDb 6.5, Rotten Tomatoes 52%.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's the final movie in the trilogy in the series, so obviously it's going to take a tank. But that movie did not do what it needed to do.
Box
to
office
finish.
Box office $1 billion.
Trash.
For the Rise of Skywalker?
Rise of Skywalker $1 billion. I think.
I'm surprised it made that much.
Well, The Last Jedi made 1.3, so it made less than The Last
It's
Jedi.
embarrassing.
For the last entry in the trilogy, that should have. Think about Avengers Endgame and Infinity War. That should have been way higher. Should have been way higher. Even if it's bad, it should have been higher. But people just don't care a lot about. Or a lot of people that once cared about Star Wars have kind of either given up on it or they're just like waiting for their minds to be blown for something else. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you go to see your friend and they're like, "Hey, I have $1 for you," and you're like, "Sick," and you go to take the dollar from them, and they open their hand and it's empty and they smack you in the face. Then you go to the next day and they're like, I have $2 for you. And you go to get it and they smack you in the face again. Eventually, I should be like, I'm sick of being smacked in the face. I'm not coming over anymore. And that's what's happening with Star Wars. Like, hey, by the way, we have a sick new movie coming out, and you go see it, and you leave getting smacked in the face. And by the last movie in that trilogy, you're like, dude, I'm not coming anymore, man. I'm sick of being hurt.
So since we've talked about some shows being, excelling and being really good, is it too early in the conversation to kind of talk about what you might want out of movies in the future?
I think we.
What I
think
want out of
we talked
movies?
about that. Yeah, Joe.
Yeah, definitely.
All
You
right,
go first.
So this is kind of a big thing. So if you don't have we're not going to judge you if your answer isn't like super thought out because it's a big question. But
For
Yeah,
sure.
please. I've been thinking about this every day my
all
whole
right,
life.
what do you think Star Wars could bring back that would revitalize Star Wars?
All right. So first, like I was talking about, they need trust back with the audience. They need to at least. They don't need to blow my mind with the first movie they make, but they need to make it so I'm like, I see what we're doing here. I see improvement. But what I think really needs to change is Disney needs to take their disgusting habits out of the movies and like stop with the comedy that doesn't fit into the scenes.
Yes.
Stop with having inconsistent writing. Hire one director for each movie so the stories don't jump from left to right. But I think the biggest thing is when you watched even the prequels. I'll admit I've never been like they're the best movies I've ever seen, but I've thoroughly enjoyed them because when you leave, you feel a certain way. No matter who you are, no matter what you take from the movies, you feel something. But these new Disney trilogies, you leave and you're like, I just saw a movie, and I paid $20 for popcorn and a movie ticket, but you don't feel something. And I think that's what Star Wars is supposed to have. The last time you felt something, in my opinion, in a Star Wars film was in Episode 3 when all the Jedi were getting murdered in during Order 66, and then
You
you're
mean
like,
the
oh my
same
god.
scene, the same scene that they just keep reusing in all the medium? I can't tell you how much the Star Wars franchise.
What do you mean, the two that they've used?
Dude, they use it in like every single friggin' show. They just talk about Order 66.
Name it.
The Mandalorian.
Fallen Order.
That's a video
Obi-Wan.
game.
I mean, to me,
I don't think they. First of all, I
Oh,
don't know if
yep.
they do it in the
I said
Mandalorian.
name one. I was just giving you two, and they do. They totally do, and they do it.
They mentioned the Jedi Purge, maybe, but they're not like, oh, Order 66.
Yeah.
But anyway, so those feelings of like, for those of you who don't know, I'm pretty knowledgeable about movies and film, but rising tension, and building tension is really important in a film. So people in the audience are like, oh shoot, what's about to happen? And if you break that line, break that tension that's rising with like, who talks? You talk first, I talk first. Some like stupid joke. It completely takes the tension out of there. You're completely uninvested, and then there's no consequences to any action. So it's just a goofy cotton candy movie where nothing's going to happen, and you know that, and there's no consequences, and there's no tension, so you leave feeling cheated. And I think that's the main thing that has to change. You have to have real emotion, you have to have a real effect on your audience, and get that disgusting Disney humor out of the movie.
good thing that.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I
Fair
agree.
enough.
I agree with all those points. I think Disney, one of the worst things that they do, besides another topic that we're not going to get into, but is implanted humor when it doesn't belong. They kind of force it down your throat, and yeah, it does kill tension, and that's in pretty much a lot of Disney films. We're going to talk about Endgame and Infinity War eventually. I think they're both good movies. Infinity War is a great movie. But there are definitely some scenes that had a lot of emotional stakes or emotional weight behind it for particular characters that they used humor just to be the butt of the joke at the expense of the character. And I don't agree when Disney does that. So I think it's a great point, Joe.
All right, Justin, what do you think about what needs to be done in the movies? Because you're kind of a middle ground person. I'd like to hear what you think needs to be done.
So when I asked that, to be honest with you, I was looking for for you to answer like character wise or plot wise. Since like I
like
think
a story.
Jake has been, because Jake has been saying like the Rise of Skywalker, it was just kind of a repeat of A New Hope, or what did you relate that to again?
Force Awakens is the story is very similar to New Hope.
Yeah, just kind of a plot repeat. That's what I thought you were gonna answer. So myself, being not as in tune with that, I don't know what characters could be quote unquote recycled or what new ones you could introduce, if any. Um, but story-wise, I definitely have to agree with all like the storytelling points you make. Same director, that kind of stuff.
Okay, what about the other two? Jake and Lee. What we got over here?
Lee, you want to go first?
There you go, man.
So I think that if Star Wars wants to be back, build that trust, like Joe was saying, they have to come up with not necessarily something original. It can be something in the Star Wars universe that already exists, but it can't include any of the main characters from any of the movies they made so far. I think they need
So
to
completely
they need
refresh.
to they need to axe the groundwork and they need to start up. They need to start building characters that this audience, these generations can grow up with that don't suck, for lack of a better word, and they need to have it absent of. I know that the whole point of Star Wars is like Star Wars for everyone, and you know that, but it's just too lazy if you neuter your story for the sake of like, oh, that character, I remember him, and I think that that's what Disney Trilogy did a ton. Because all right, think about it like this. So Joe, for example, what is the original trilogy about? If you had to surmise it in 2 sentences, what would you say?
The enduring spirit of humanity and the triumph over good and evil. Triumph of good over evil. That's
Okay,
probably
so
what I would say.
so in that original trilogy, did good actually triumph over evil?
Yeah.
In canonical Disney Star Wars, the answer to that question is also yes, but because the Emperor is alive in that, it uproots everything. Well, most things that Luke did. Luke did a lot more than just that. But the main thing that he's known for, right, is him being able to turn Darth Vader back to his father, to Anakin, right? And then Anakin's redemption, which is what makes Darth Vader such a great, well-known villain, is his both his menacing presence, his power, and also in the end his humanity. Then you take Luke, right, who's supposed to be the best of us, and the Emperor, instead of taking someone that he loves and manipulating them into the fight, kind of a rehash of Darth Vader, instead send some vague signals to a 17-year-old kid, and then Luke is like, nah, this guy's gonna go, I gotta kill him. Just completely uproots the character, and now this one, I kind of, I appreciate the whole falling from grace kind of character thing, and then redemption at the end, right? But the way that they did it was just so nonsensical that
Yes, I agree.
I don't think they should touch Luke ever again. They should just let him, like in the movies, they should just let him die and just pray that people remember the good about him and not that decision where he tried to kill the teenager for like apparently almost no reason. Right? Because think about Luke basically killing this kid or trying to kill this kid set the plot in motion for the entire trilogy. So I think if you're gonna fix it, uproot all that, no new characters that they can ruin, right, and just start fresh. I don't even need it to be that great of a movie. An okay movie would get me more interested than an okay movie where they just threw in a bunch of fan service. If they just made it like an okay movie, good original story, plot that made sense, characters that you can kind of get behind, that's all it takes. But is Disney going to do that? I don't think so.
All right.
Mr. Lee.
So I'm kind of. I mean, at the end of the day, we all want a good movie, but I feel like that's every director goes into it with the expectation of saying they're going to make a good movie. So I feel like me just saying I want a good movie isn't like realistic. So, but I do think the approach is honestly to do the opposite of what the MCU is doing and stop trying to make everything like a trilogy slash franchise slash connected. And I just think that you need to let it breathe for a minute. And because clearly the last trilogy was not well received and it wasn't what lived up to the hype. So I think they should take 3 or 4, maybe 5 years and just focus on maybe get some like lesser known directors that have like interesting styles. Like, and it doesn't always have to be an action blockbuster. Like imagine a Star Wars horror movie or like a thriller or something. And
Would love it.
it doesn't always have to be the same generic lightsaber, whatever Jedi's like. As long as it's set in that world and it can just build people's interest and test out different things, and that's kind of what I was hoping Phase 4 of the MCU would be. Is that it was that's a whole other day. Is them like trying different things, but if you're just gonna keep making the same story structure every single time, where it's just like a lighthearted action adventure movie, I think you're gonna see that people are getting tired of that. So I would say the complete opposite in that you just get some lesser known, not necessarily lesser known, but like more directors that are willing to take more risks, similar to The Last Jedi, but not with the characters of that. Because people get real upset when you start taking huge chances on a guy like Luke Skywalker, who's been around for 40 years, rather than a brand new character. And then it's like, all right, now we can have a little fun because there's no fan expectations of them. So all new characters, like Jake said, all new story structure, all new plots, and play with the genres a little bit. Like I said, have a horror movie. Oh, you could have a friggin', all kinds of different types of films. Doesn't always have to be the same idea, but it'll just keep people's interest there, and then give you time to lay out what the next trilogy, franchise, whatever will be. Because right now, I don't think that's working.
I agree a lot with that. I think that a couple of isolated one-off stories could probably do them pretty well to get people back into theaters. And just
and I think the more people want to see chances, they want to see risks, not necessarily, but it can't be with characters like Luke Skywalker, Superman, yada yada. Like they want to see different things, and I just don't think you just have to do it with like our beloved hero. Like all of a sudden have Luke be like an asshole who's just drinking milk out of a llama or whatever the hell that thing was. Joe, what was that? What was that character?
What is that creature he's drinking milk out of?
Yeah,
It's that creature.
Yeah.
I don't know. Even I don't know that.
Yeah, that was weird, man.
I think they just made that up. That's probably nowhere.
Like imagine a Darth Maul origin story, and it's like a horror movie, like where he came from and shit. I mean, maybe, that's
if you have to watch the Clone Wars, you boob, it's already done.
It's actually a really good story, and I would recommend that you watch or at least watch like a YouTube video explaining Darth Maul's story because I did that.
Even watched that show, Jake.
I watched a YouTube video about Darth Maul's story, and it's actually really good.
That whole show is very good.
But I see what you're saying. Like stuff like that. If you're gonna put nostalgia in it, it's got to be done tastefully. But I wouldn't recommend them do it at all. But like I said, if it's an origin story for like a lesser character that like has like an interesting, different take on it,
not even. It could be a brand new character. Make us invested in a new set of characters. Like I feel like the Darth Maul was a bad.
Like Rey.
Finn.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Ooh, all right. This is
Finn. You want to talk Finn?
Oh yes, I want to talk Finn. Justin, tell me about Finn.
Oh my God. So first of all, that actor just plays the character of just not knowing what's going on. Anytime you want to like move the plot forward and figure out what's going on next, you gotta like go to him because he'll be like, okay, don't know. It's like I don't know if I'm beating that too quickly, but
I know what you're saying.
That character, like, let me pan over to him. He's gonna have a questioning look on his face because he doesn't know what's going on at any point in time, and then we figure it out.
You're so right. Finn's always like, "What's going on?" And then they're like, exposition dump. He's like, "Oh, okay, I'll follow you guys, I guess." And then and then later he's like, "Oh, I don't know what's going on anymore." And they're like, "Oh, okay, well we're gonna do this." He's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I'll follow you."
The dude was like a stormtrooper for his whole life. He's like, they fly now?
Yeah, seriously. You've seen the jetpacks, bro. You have to have seen the jetpacks. Yeah.
And let me just say this. I was really excited in The Force Awakens because I thought the idea of a stormtrooper that went rogue was really cool and original. So imagine a whole show based on that. Yep. Like if you took Finn out of the trilogy and gave him, I feel like it would be a cool thing for a show. Him realizing like he brainwashed from an early age.
Joe.
Yeah, and they just never like really brought it up. Like Joe just said, like his whole character after that first like 30 minutes of the first movie was just like the goofy, funny guy,
It's such a good point. It's like I think that Finn could have been one of the best characters in the Star Wars movies if they did it right, but he really went from I'm anti-violence because my friend got killed by Poe, by the way. Poe shot that dude in the fucking throat. And what does he do? I'm gonna break out the dude that murdered my friend, and then Poe's like, you gotta shoot these things, and then Finn's like, okay, I'm okay with murder now. Just guns down a bunch of his comrades.
Gabagoo.
The Gabagoo. Where's the Gabagoo? Yeah, I just think.
Let's talk about like the worst love interests as well. Like the side plot that they have.
Oh, yep.
Him and Ray.
Ugh.
So I think this
No,
is
not Ray. The other girl.
Rose.
Yeah.
Yeah, the casino
That
thing.
side
The
plot.
casino
That
thing.
side plot where they go
Rose.
like to the slave place and they let out the animals or whatever.
Oh, that infuriated me.
Yeah. All right. Because here's the thing, right? So I love the idea that Finn's anti-war, right? I think he should have stayed with Poe the entire time because Poe is very pro-violence, pro-action, pro get in the thick of it, and Finn should have, or I think what they were trying to do is like, let's take a step back, let's think out our options, let's not be violent if we have to, and let's not be gung ho, let's show some reserve, right? I think that would have been such a good dynamic between the two characters, but they just didn't do that. But they made them best friends, which is what they should have done anyway. So I guess there's
They
that.
made them best friends for like 30 seconds because they patted each other on the back when they were walking by each other.
Because they killed a bunch of dudes together, and Finn was wearing his jacket, so they're best buds. But yeah, to your point, the side plot, What pissed me off about that, I mean, besides all of it, was at the sing part when Rose is talking to Finn about the effects of war and how violence is bad. You're telling that to the stormtrooper that defected because he didn't want to see any more of his friends die. You're telling him, the child soldier that got taken from birth, brainwashed, and forced to kill, that violence in war is bad. You're telling him that.
Yep.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, I mean, we can talk all day, wasted character, but those types of things, I feel like, again, it goes back to there is a lot of original ideas, and honestly, they could take stuff from other movies, but just make it Star Wars or other TV shows, just basic concepts like that, like PTSD or like being brainwashed, like a lot of the Black Mirror stuff. Like,
Mhm.
imagine a Black Mirror style. What are those types of shows called? Anthology series, but set in the Star Wars universe, like that. Those types of things, get real creative with it. And there's a lot you could do, but when you keep making the same franchise mechanics over and over, people just get tired of it, especially when you're not doing anything new. And that was the only thing. What's up?
No. The only thing. Go ahead.
That was the only thing I did like about The Last Jedi was they killed Snoke right off the bat, which I didn't necessarily like, but I thought it was an interesting choice that they were like taking these giant risks, I guess you could say. But I don't think that was the time and place to do it. So I was happy they were doing these things, like making Luke jaded or whatever, but not that wasn't the right character or that wasn't the right time and place. So I'm happy they were taking the risk, but it wasn't executed in the right format. If that had been like something they did on a show with other minor characters, I think it would have been much better, well received.
Okay, so what is your general thoughts on like something like Rogue One? Pretty decent for how your general thoughts are of Star Wars in a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the strongest of the five. Came out definitely the strongest of the five. I don't think it's as phenomenal as Joe thinks it is, but
I think
those types of
Rogue
things.
One's pretty good. I mean,
And less is more with the shows. Like, I didn't think we needed a Boba Fett show or the Obi-Wan. Yeah, but I didn't see most of it, but I heard it sucked. I saw the last two episodes that were pretty good.
Joe,
But,
what do you think? Did it suck?
I didn't watch a single episode besides the last two, but I heard it sucked.
Yep.
What do you think, Joe? Was Obi-Wan good? Did it live up to your expectations?
I would say the opening did not, the ending did. But it's only, I say that because I can admit when I come in with really high expectations. You know, with The Mandalorian when it first came out and Boba Fett, my expectations were kind of medium. You know, it's Star Wars, so I'm excited, but I'm not like blow my mind. The Obi-Wan Kenobi show, I came in saying blow my mind because I kind of got reading all the dirt sheets and everything they released, and you kind of get a vibe about what the story's going to be about. And I loved it. I thought it was such a creative idea and an area that I think needs to be expanded upon. And it's just they did it in such a mediocre, slow way to start. And I just didn't like it. But when they picked up the pace and finally put more bang for your buck each episode, it met what I was expecting to see. But yeah, that opening, which I thought was going to be really interesting, just it kind of let me down, like the first two or three. Maybe two. So yeah, first two.
But you saying it finished strong?
It did finish strong. I think the action came along with it, but the storytelling in itself was absolutely beautiful. And that's what I was really hoping to see. you have these Jedi, which kind of like Finn, are kidnapped and brainwashed from a young age to follow this code, and then suddenly the code is removed. No matter how old you are, that's all you've ever known. So you're going to be wonky and weird and not know what to do with your life. And I thought they were going to show Obi-Wan in that light, where he just lost literally everything he's ever known: the Jedi Order, his masters, his best friend Anakin. So it's like you'd think you see him in a vulnerable state, and you kind of do, because he's doing like mediocre, mundane things and taking crap from people he could kill in a millisecond. But it just, I wanted to see pain. Like, that's the emotion I'm talking about. I wanted to see suffering and discomfort in the situation he's finding himself in. I didn't want to see him going to the grocery store and then going back to the grocery store from his house. Like, I wanted to feel something. Those were the 2 episodes I expected to feel the most in. But, I did not.
Real quick pitch: John Wick style Star Wars show. There's as Jedi survived Order 66. He's living on a planet. His wife and killed. They're killed by some Star Wars characters, whatever. And he goes on a rampage, killing all of them.
I think it'd make for some great action, but probably wouldn't be like a good movie by Star Wars fan standards. But I think that it would be it'd be a fun movie to watch for sure.
All right, Jake. How much time we got left? Because I want to hear if we swayed Justin.
We're at the 50-minute mark, so it's up to you if you guys want to wrap it up or keep going.
All right, Justin. How are you feeling? Were you swayed a certain side, or are you still on the fence?
I think I'm definitely stuck more towards the side of it not being dead. I think even with you guys being Lee and Jake have explained their side, like even their side has boosted me towards like it kind of being on life support, like Lee said, but being able to be revived even.
Yeah, I mean, when I say, I think it makes up an interesting point that Justin says. So like when I say it's dead, it's like you're in the ER, you're pulseless, right? But the doctor gets there quick enough that if they do the right things, you might be able to make it out. Maybe not with all your brain activity, right? But you might be alive, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I think for now, it is pulseless, not breathing, dead.
For sure, and I to throw it in there too. I don't think movies will do it. I don't think especially with the extreme day and age that we've got. I think even with a really sick movie, it's gonna take like that character build to come back, which Disney Plus is gonna be able to do. I think with a good show, maybe they can establish a nice character that they'll bring into a movie.
I'm not gonna
kind of like reverse that we've seen.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, to uproot every argument I've ever said about this. If they do make a Starkiller movie, I'm going to see it hands down, 100%. I don't care how good or bad it is.
See, that's why, Justin. That's why you should be on Team Not Dead. If there are stories that people are still itching to see, and people enjoy new stories,
but are they
you can't be dead.
But are they gonna do it? No.
Actually, there is dirt sheets coming out that they're saying they're looking for a casting at very early stages in the event that a good story is found. But they are looking to cast a live-action Starkiller. So,
who's Starkiller?
So Starkiller, Joe, you can explain it better than I can. So,
wait, you don't know who Starkiller is, Lee?
No,
I don't either.
Okay, so, all right. So, long story short, Starkiller is an apprentice of Darth Vader that Darth Vader is trying to use to kill the Emperor.
Oh, is that in the video game?
Force Unleashed video game.
Yeah, he's a dude that holds the lightsabers backwards.
I take that back. Okay, but I'll take the filler in. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
he dies. He gets cloned, and he comes back, and that clone actually ends up doing the same thing as the original guy did. And he fights for the light side now. He rebels against Darth Vader because he feels a draw to the light side. And he ends up being key in the formation of the Rebel Alliance. And then he's arguably the most... that's a tough thing to say. He's really powerful. He is insanely powerful. Like, he brings a Star Destroyer down to the ground while it's like in orbit of a planet, which makes him just insanely strong. I want to say he's the most powerful, but with Darth Raven and other Sith out there that can eat planets and stuff, I don't want to say that, but To say,
eat.
all right, this is
they
what I'll
eat
say.
planets.
Yes. So
Lactose
if you put Starkiller into a live action movie, his power levels just don't make sense with other current Star Wars characters we know. That would be the only problem. That's how strong he is. It'd
that's
be
what-
like putting in Thanos with Captain America and all them, like
With-
non-powered.
Like with the
Avengers.
All
with
right,
the
all right,
with the
all right.
gauntlet
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
already.
whoa.
With
Whoa,
the
whoa,
gauntlet
whoa.
already.
Get the fuck out of here. I think what you mean to say is putting him in with someone other than Captain America. Jessica Jones.
Let's be honest here. Captain America and Jessica Jones are both getting clapped by Thanos, regardless.
All right.
Just one
Anyway,
quick
I
Google search.
digress.
One quick Google search gives you a recommendation of Christian Bale as Starkiller.
He's like 60 years old.
You gotta get a young upcomer, or you
I
can get the
agree.
dude
I
they can get the dude that actually like made the face for the game because he's actually aged pretty well and still looks like he did back in the day. I don't know his name.
Yeah,
is,
he looks good.
Joe, you know what his name is?
Like I just watched his movie.
Patrol.
Was it Clash of the Titans? And I feel like
Jamie
No,
No, it's the dude from Kyle XY.
Sam Witwer.
Sam. No, he is the voice actor for Darth Maul. Wait, is it the same person? It might actually be Sam.
No,
Witwer.
it's not. No, it's
No,
not.
Sam Witwer is Darth Maul. You said you're right.
Oh, is it?
No, I'm actually ashamed of myself.
He could be.
So
Last
voice
thing I'm
actor
gonna
is
say
Sam Witwer. That's the Starkiller voice actor. Or
Oh,
that's
It
at,
is. That's
both
all
of
right.
them.
That's what I was thinking.
that's at least the dude that models the face of him. I don't know if he's actually the voice actor, but he's 44. And to be honest
No,
with you,
he is the voice actor, and he's the voice actor for Darth Maul and Emperor Palpatine. He's very well tuned into Star Wars. If you guys want to see a cool video, look up on YouTube his breakdown of a fight in an animated show between Darth Maul and Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's fantastic.
yeah, he's he definitely is aged very well, and I think that he could pull it off.
He's 44 right now. And it's only showing me 2012, 2013 pics, but can't imagine him wrinkling up that much.
Wrinkling up.
And yeah,
Alright, so-
man, yeah. Just thinking about that video game. Good times.
Good times,
So,
all right.
so we bring it back some of the game characters and not necessarily sticking with the movie characters. I feel like that's a safer bet because you're not necessarily going to piss off as many people.
Yeah, and I think it's safe enough because it's kind of a niche fan base that likes him. That if it's bad, it's not going to be destructive. Like the Disney trilogy brought back those
True.
super meaningful characters, and it was bad, so it's very destructive. I think Starkiller, if you're gonna go to the nostalgia route, is a pretty safe place to start, and it can be just a 1 or a 2 off. It can be a dual series kind of thing.
Yeah, if you disappoint the niche, you probably won't lesser chance of disappointing the masses. Right?
You disappoint the niche, you get the caboose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the caboose is better than the kibosh, you know. All right. Anybody got any summarizing points that they want to say? Any last words or remarks?
I'm good.
Speak-
Do your research. Anyone listening, read the books, read some articles, watch the TV shows. You'll love it.
Tell us how right or wrong we are. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to the second episode of Broadcast Bros. Anyone that did.
It was a blast.
Yeah, Justin, thanks for coming on. Hopefully we'll see more of you. Lee and Joe, thank you as always for being a part of this. And if you guys, the audience listening, have any suggestions for what we should talk about, feel free to let us know by mediums that aren't available yet, but will be soon. And we'll go from there.
Bye.
Thank you and have a good night. Peace
Bye.
out.